Hello, good morning. We are live. I am live at a time a little bit later than I usually am. I always make sure that I'm consistently coming on at 9:30, and today we're just coming on scheduled a little bit later at 11:30 Pacific time, and I'm really excited about the guests I have coming on to share some really valuable information with you today. I had thought long and hard really specifically the last 24 hours if I wanted to do a live show today. Although, like I talk about being consistent, it's very important. But there's a lot of things going on right now that are just, it's hard to talk about. I'll be honest with you. It's hard to talk about. It's hard to know what to talk about. I brought on my guest today to talk about blogging. This whole month, I planned my months in advance, and I had dedicated this month of June as a theme of writing. And I really wanted to bring resources to you that would support you in your entrepreneur journey and your business journey to help you learn how to be a better writer. I mean, I know I can use those resources as well. And that's why I wanted to bring on my guest to talk about blogging and, just writing in general and how to talk about your personal brand and blogging. Email newsletters, ebooks, all sorts of different writing resources, and that's why this month is about writing, and today we're talking about blogging. So I didn't know if I wanted to do this show today, but I decided to go forward with it because I thought about why I create content in the first place, why I have my social media marketing business. I help life and business coaches gain visibility and increase impact using Facebook and Instagram tactics at work. And I thought about why I wanted to have my show today. I'm going to talk more about different movements that are going on and kind of clarify what's happening. And if you have comments or questions, please feel free to say hi and ask questions. It's definitely a conversation. And I decided I wanted to continue my show because there is a lot of shows that are being canceled and things that are being, kind of slowed down right now, because I publish content on my social media channels to be a resource to you. I want to be a resource for you to help you learn and get information and amplify your message as coaches and as you're on your business journey. And that's exactly why I decided to continue this show today, as well as give you a little information about what's going on and kind of like the confusion. If you're watching me right now, you're on Facebook. You might have seen on Facebook there's black boxes throughout your feed. If you see that on Instagram, you'll see black boxes on Instagram throughout your feed too. And I'm going to explain that too and what that's all about. Because I think it's important to, if you're not familiar with what's going on right now, it's important to do your research and to learn about what's going on. And if you're, trying to figure it out, hopefully this can be a point of understanding for you for sure. So that's why I'm here today. So I'm really glad to be with you. And if you have any, like I said, questions or comments, please feel free to add them in the chat, because I'm definitely going to address every single one of them. And I just know that I've planned this show out in the last 24 hours of how I really wanted to say it. So I've written a lot of my content down. So I just want to make sure that I get it right. And I'm going to read some of this stuff off too, because I really think it's important. But first of all, my guest is Mike Allton. He is the blogging brute. He's got the social media hat website, and he's also a brand ambassador for Agorapulse. And he's written an article that he's going to talk about. He just wrote it on the 31st of May. So 2 days ago, he wrote an article about how to handle your social media during a crisis. And of course, we're in a couple of different crises right now, and we'll talk about that too. But we, as business owners, still need to make sure that our message is getting out there. So how do we do that in a way that we feel good about it and then we feel comfortable about it? And that's what I want to share. He's going to talk about his blog post that's been shared over 6,000 times in 2 days. He's definitely established himself as a resource and an expert in blogging. So I'm definitely going to ask him a lot of questions about that and how we should move forward. But I do want to talk about the black boxes that you see, and I've done some research to be able to help understand it. So basically, today is established as Blackout Tuesday. June 2nd, 2020 is established as Blackout Tuesday, and it's a collective action by artists and leaders of the music industry to protest racism and police brutality. The action is organized in response to the killing of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and is scheduled to take place today. So these black box posts are intended to be expressing solidarity with the Black Lives Matter protests that have swept across the United States after the death of George Floyd. So users are supporting this by posting these black boxes on Facebook and Instagram, and with hashtags. Now, if you know, you're familiar with hashtags, of course, they're more common on Instagram than on Facebook, but it's really important that you use the right hashtags to make your content searchable to the right audiences. And when we're talking about this Blackout Tuesday movement, it's really important to use the right hashtag, and I'll tell you why. Thanks for being here, Stephanie, and thank you for being here too, Angela. I really I hope this is valuable to you for sure. Because it's important to use the right hashtag, especially on Instagram, because when you're searching a hashtag, you're going to you use a hashtag. You want that content to be searchable when people go to that hashtag. So, for example, someone wants to learn about the Black Lives Matter movement. They are going to want to search Black Lives Matter in their hashtag search. If they go there today and they see a lot of black boxes, they're not going to get the information that they need. They're going to see a lot of black space. If you're using the wrong hashtag to your black post, that black solid post, that's what's going to happen. So you have to make sure if you're seeing that content, you're seeing that post, or you're seeing that hashtag being used, make sure that you see that they're using the Blackout Tuesday hashtag. So that goes into that hashtag. And that way, for the Black Lives Matter hashtag, we can all see the content that we can use to learn and educate ourselves for this, what's going on right now. So we definitely don't want to, I know that there's a lot of people that follow me that are not clear about hashtags and are still trying to learn about it on Facebook and Instagram. I really want to just make that clear. So without further ado, I want to bring on my guest. I'm so excited that he's here today, Mike Allton, and he's going to share with us, have him share about him, but also more about how we should be handling our blogging during this time. Yes. Thank you so much for joining me, Mike.
Hey, thanks for having me. I know it's a lot to not only have conversations and be educators or marketers today, but to go live today and actually be on camera. Kudos to you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I just, it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. I'm here to be a resource for my audience, when COVID-19 first started, and I thought the same thing, like, should I continue to, share what I'm doing? And, it's building up the audience to really inform them and be a resource. So I felt like it was my responsibility to be there for my audience. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Absolutely.
So I shared a little bit about the blog post you made a few days ago, and it's gotten 6,000 shares, and that right there, that's a pretty big achievement. And, it just goes to show that you know how to create very engaging, very valuable content. So that's why I wanted to have you here today. You're the first one on my mind that I thought of that would be an expert in writing. Who do I know that just first thing that comes to my mind is blogging, and that's you. So thanks again for being here. So I want to tell us a little bit more about you. I know that you've been in this game for a long time. So how did you start kind of on this journey of blogging?
Well, interestingly, I used to build websites. And so I had a web design firm, just mostly local sites here in St. Louis. And I was starting to write content to promote that business. And I was writing about internet marketing because, website's part of internet marketing. You need that website, that property. So I was writing about social media and blogging, and that wasn't bringing me any web design clients at all. And that business ultimately failed, to be perfectly frank. But in that process, I discovered that I really liked to write and teach people about social media and about content marketing and blogging and so on. So I started the Social Media Hat in 2011. No business plan, no monetization model, just as a place where I could start to write about and publish content about social media and email marketing and SEO and blogging and really anything online marketing related, which was really, frankly, too broad. That's one of the mistakes that I share with people, is that I was too broad in what I was writing about. But that's what I did in 2011. And it really took my career in a completely different direction, a very positive one. I'm very grateful for what I've been able to do and who I've been able to connect with and learn from and build off of over the past nearly a decade. So that's where I'm at.
Wow, that's cool. So you started out doing what you thought you should be doing, and then you switched to go, this is just what I really want to do. And then that became like insanely popular. So that just goes to show when you're following your passion, you're doing something that you really, really enjoy, that it's, as long as you just keep it going, you're going to be successful. And that just goes to show right there. So That's really cool. So I think that's really important for all of us business owners to do, because there can be times where, it's like, oh gosh, like this is really difficult, but you follow your heart, you follow what, you really want to do. And that's, it's that passion shows through, and that's how it's going to be so successful. So speaking of successful, like I said, you've had this blog post a couple of days ago. When I first saw it on Facebook, I was like, oh, Mike wrote this blog post. I need to read it because I want to know what he thinks about this, how to market your business during this time, because that's, something that I'm always trying to learn about. And there are some really interesting tips in there. I just want to start out with asking you why you decided to write that blog post, because I know that we kind of want to know, like, when do we do blog posts, or what's the right time to do it? So what made you decide to write that blog post?
Yeah, it's interesting because you could break down the content that I create in two different buckets. On the one hand, you've got a bucket of content where it's technical and factual, and it's based on my expert advice and experience, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to do a certain thing because I know. And I know what works. I might tell you how to research keywords and how to analyze, the success and the competition and the volume of keywords that you know what to write about. That's one kind of post. This was not that. This was this other bucket of posts, which is really more of a true blog. A lot of it's coming from my heart. A lot of it is coming from my ignorance, the mistakes that I've made in the past. So a lot of the content that I've written in the past has been, here's what I did wrong, and maybe what I changed, and maybe this will work for you, maybe it won't. So those of you who've read or might read this particular article, you'll see that in there. It's not me telling you what to do. For the most part, it's me just sharing what I've done, what I've experienced, or chosen to do this week based on almost a decade of experience on social media and past events and past crises, and how I've kind of handled those, and maybe how I've learned from past mistakes. So throughout this article, I'm kind of sharing, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm stopping all my social media, and I'm reevaluating what I'm doing, and I'm reevaluating not just social media marketing, but a lot of really internal deep thoughts and self-criticism, and doing a lot of self-educating and reaching out, and through this post, hopefully helping others.
Yeah, that's exactly why when I saw that post, I was like, I know this is what he's doing. He's just sharing his expertise. He's got the experience. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We need to just learn from people that have gone through it before, that really have the knowledge to be able to help us. And I really appreciated that standpoint that you had. Like, you're not saying like, this is what you should do. You're saying, this is what I'm going to do. And kind of just like helping everyone understand, like, these are all the possibilities of things that you could do and how to do it. And, a little bit of why. And leaving it up to themselves, because everyone's different. Everyone has a different audience, and everyone's comfort level around these things is different, and the amount of information that you share personally or professionally is very different. So I just really appreciate that in that respect, it was just very informative, but let us have the space to be able to make our own decisions, and that's what I really appreciated about that. So. Thanks again.
And
I really
it's interesting. You mentioned the shares, which is cool, but I think that number, that volume, is really reflective of the fact that this is a very emotive piece, right? There was a lot of emotion and personality that went into that, right? What I'm doing, what I'm feeling, why I'm doing it, very personal. And I didn't know, right? And believe me, I have written posts that got 0 shares and were complete bombs. I didn't know going into it what would work, and if this would resonate with people, but clearly it has. I've gotten more email replies because I published it on Sunday, and then I sent an email yesterday morning letting my email subscribers know, hey, this is out there. If you're wondering what to do, maybe this would help you. That's almost literally what I wrote in the email. I've gotten more replies to that email than probably any that I've ever sent.
Wow.
And fortunately, they've all been very positive and appreciative and respectful, which has been great. As a writer, this is my art. This is what I do. I write, I create content on the weekends. This is what I do, honestly, to relax. And it's almost escapism for me, although there wasn't a lot of escapism in this particular piece. But I can come up here in my office on a Sunday or Saturday afternoon, shut the door, lights are off, music's on, and I'm just in my content and I'm writing. And so to get feedback like that, from readers, from subscribers, from peers, like the wonderful people that are watching right now. They've read it and they gave me feedback. You gave me feedback. That's really nice. It's really nice.
Yeah, well, and it's, an element of, it's how you connect too. Like you're connecting with your audience through, like you said, the emotion of what's going on. And I think that's it's just a great way to go about it, because we want to be able to connect with others, especially during this time. And that was just allowing that personal connection too. So it's great to hear that you got a good feedback through your email too. And I just want to say hi that we have Stephanie Lou here. Angela came in and said hi. Hi, Angela. Mary is here too. And Stephanie says, yeah, what I appreciate so much about Mike Allton is that he uses his platform to educate and learn along with his audience. He follows his own path and sheds light on issues that most marketers in this industry don't want to or shy away from. That's very true. It's hard too. Like, you've been around for, in the blogging industry and social media for a while. So, it's maybe you kind of have like a little more of an experience, like as me being a little bit newer, I lean on people like you to be, to help educate us in that regards too. So there's Mary again. Oh, Doris is here too. Yay, feel free to ask any questions that you have. I'm going to ask my couple questions just to kind of help us understand how we should move forward. And those are how we can, the options, and you kind of choose the path that you want to go. So blogging, everyone you have a business, you have a website, and they always think I've got to put a blog on my website. Like that's just what you do, right? So when you're thinking about like, oh gosh, well, I have this blog, now I got to fill it with something. What do I write about? So how do you go about figuring, or how do you, and I know you coach and you have courses on writing too. What are your tips to help people understand and learn about what they should be writing about on their blogs?
Well, there's a couple different approaches to this. The first is to listen very carefully to what your audience is talking about and asking about. I love that Stephanie's in the audience because she taught me her 10x10 formula a couple years ago at MDMC. And so now I share that. She was talking about it from a live video perspective, and it's wonderful. Also for written content, where you list out your top 10 frequently most asked questions from your audience, from your customers, from your clients, whoever it is that you're conversing with, right? And then you also think about 10 questions that they should be asking. And each one of those is potentially a piece of content that you can create, whether it's video or audio or written. It really doesn't matter to me. I like to write, that's my gig, but yeah, not everybody likes to write so much, and that's okay. You could do video like you're doing right here, Amy, and bring others on or talk from your own heart, your own experience. All that's wonderful. You're probably going to end up needing to turn it into written content for the blog. I think that's going to perform best for most businesses from an SEO perspective. But that's one approach, right? Is to just talk about the questions that people are asking. Marcus Sheridan refers to this as they ask, you answer. Very simple formula, right? Someone asks a question, you answer it. And the beauty with that approach is that it applies to social media and email as well. When you send out emails, when you post to your Facebook page, when you share in a group and people come back with questions, those are opportunities for you to answer. And one of the things I teach people is to have this blogger's mindset where anytime you're answering a question, whatever that question is, wherever that question is, if it's related to your business, have this mindset that this might be a blog post, particularly if your answer is more than a paragraph or two. I will literally answer somebody's question on social media and then copy and paste that answer and put it in Evernote, which is what I use for all my like ideas tracking and my publishing and writing. So I'll copy and paste that. So then when I sit down to write on a Saturday afternoon, like I already mentioned I do, I've got all these ideas. I've got blog posts that are literally in progress. So I'm not just looking at a screen and saying, okay, I need to write something now. I can sift through. Oh yeah. A few weeks ago, I answered this person's question about, how to schedule a live broadcast on Facebook. And I already wrote out half of the answer. Well, I mean, I really wrote out the whole answer, but I kind of just, went quickly on social media. I can expand that and extend it and publish that. That's pretty easy. So that's the first big bucket of approaches. And that's really where most people should start, because that's how you can kind of sink your teeth into blogging and start to figure out a lot of the mechanics of, okay, I got to put a title, I got to put a body, I got to create a featured image, I got to publish it. And there's some mechanical stuff, some logistical stuff that we've got to work through. When you're ready, the more advanced method is to begin to do keyword research, to actually figure out what people are looking for usually in search engines, people you're not already connected to. Could be anywhere, anywhere in the world, anywhere in your target audience, but they're going to Google and they're trying to find information. Maybe it's the questions you're already answering, but maybe it's not. And we want to know what that is. So you can use tools like SEMrush, Google Keyword Planner. Now, BuzzSumo just released keyword analytics, where you can go in and you can type in a phrase and you can find out exactly how many people searched on that exact phrase last month. And then you can see some related phrases. So the easy example that I give people that relates to me personally is how to start a blog. There are tens of thousands of people that search how to start a blog every single month. I want a piece of that pie. I want to help those people. I want to give them a research. So I have created content, literally says how to start a blog. And I've optimized it for that. But then I take it a step further, and I've adopted an approach that I've described as content pyramid, where you are identifying the phrase that you want to rank for at the top, and you've got a major pillar piece of content, 2,000, 5,000, maybe even 10,000 words that is all about that particular topic. But then you're creating other pieces of content, subpages and blog posts that all talk about that topic in some way. They maybe dive deep into a particular aspect that wasn't really appropriate for the main post, but is a great corollary topic. Maybe it's a top 10 list. Maybe it's newsjacking. Maybe you're writing about something that's going on today that's related to that particular post. For instance, I have a post that I publish every year. Should you start a blog in 2020? I wrote the same thing last year. Should you start a blog in 2019? That's one of my most popular pieces of content today on bloggingbrute.com. Should I start a blog in 2020? People are searching that every single day, and they're coming into my blog and they're reading about it at a high level. Is now a good time to start a blog? And then they get linked over to my main resource, how to start a blog. Is now a good time? Okay, I think it is. Let's dive into the really deep waters of what do I need to do? What do I need to research? Where do you need to go? So I map all that out and I begin to create all that content, and it's very deliberate, it's very strategic, and it takes a lot of time. But I'm doing both those things at the same time. I'm answering questions, sometimes very superficial, high-level questions, like how do I link to a Facebook post? That's seriously one of my most popular pieces on the social media hat. How do I link to a Facebook post? People want to know because it's not obvious. So I've got that kind of tactical pieces of information. But then I do the deep dives in these lengthy posts. And this is where I really teach people to get strategic in their content marketing, because what you're building then is a funnel, and you're building bottom of funnel content where you're really helping people solve a problem that relates to your business that ultimately is going to lead them into what we call a business decision, where they're picking up the phone and they're calling you, or they're making a purchase, something that's going to convert them into revenue, frankly.
Wow, that's a lot of information right there. I really appreciate sharing that with us. That was just like, oh man, I should have been taking notes right now. I'm gonna go back and make sure my transcript is all clear. For sure. The replay is definitely valuable in this case. Everybody needs to make sure you go watch the replay. Tim Stone's with us, Stone Media Solutions. Hey Tim from PA. Thanks Stephanie for putting all these resources that he mentioned in here. This is gold for sure. So just like, like you said, the 10 by 10 is like what people are asking you questions. And I think about that too. Someone like private messaged me a question about Facebook, and I'm like, that's a really good question. And then I go, oh, well, I'll get another question. And then, it's kind of in my mind, but like being strategic about it and mapping it out and like putting those questions next to each other. And then on the flip side of it, looking to people that are what they're actually asking those questions and doing the research on SEO, because that if someone asks if someone doesn't know something, I've learned this over the course of my management years, if someone doesn't know something, they're not going to ask you in the way that you think that they're going to ask you. They're going to ask it in what's in their frame of reference. So bridging that gap to make sure that you're answering a question that they might have, they're just asking a different way. SEO bridges that gap for sure. So I like that.
Of answering questions, right? I published this article on Sunday, How to Manage Social Media During a Crisis. And it was kind of a funny title. I went back and forth on it because I would usually have probably titled it something like How I'm Managing Social Media During This Crisis. That would have been a more accurate title, but I made it a little more broad. But the point is, I wrote that article on Sunday It was either later that night or sometime on Monday. I was in a Facebook group, somebody else's Facebook group, and somebody was asking, hey, what do I do today? Should I cancel all my ads? Should I pause on my posts? What do I tell my clients? They're asking that very question. They didn't phrase it exactly the way I did, but they're asking the question. So I commented that, yeah, I'd stopped everything. And in fact, I wrote about it just yesterday, what I was doing. And I was very careful. I'm not just throwing my link out there. They asked for it. That was like the follow-up reply. Hey, Mike, what's the link? I want to read your article. Oh, okay, well, there you go. So I shared that article into the group, and I don't know how many people saw it. I could have made it a tracking link if I really wanted to know. But the point is, once somebody asks that question, you are going to be listening and you're going to be paying attention. You will see other people asking the exact same question or variations of the question, which are then opportunities for you to share the resource that you previously took the time to create.
That's great. I want to ask the people who are watching right now, what question do you get that you think you could write a blog post about? What's one of the questions that you get that you're like, oh man, I get this question all the time? Because if someone's asking you that question, there's other people thinking the same thing. That's always the case whenever, you're not the only one thinking that have that question. So I definitely want to know who's watching. Stephanie and Tim, Angela, Doris, everyone that's here today. I want to know, what question do you get asked? And just interested to know that, to see how similar they could be too. So having those frequently asked questions, I think is definitely key, and then planning it out and then setting aside the time. So there's a strategy, right? We've got, events like we talked about before, events and things that are happening all the time. Like there's all sorts of different things going on in the world all the time. And then when, things get, a little more broad, then we feel like we really want to share, our stance and how we, perceive that into the world. And blogging is just a great resource to be able to do that. And you take your blog and then you put it all in all your different social media channels. And that's kind of where you start. That blog post is a point of being able to use that in social, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Stephanie says, she was saying, I could put you on full screen and then I could go off and take my notes. That's definitely possible. I'm still getting comfortable with multitasking, just going back and forth to the comments, but that's definitely something I could try. I love that. And then Stephanie Liu, yes, the expert live streamer. What gear do I need to start live streaming? I know because I've been there before. She has a blog post about that she shares a lot, that has like, you need this lighting and you need this, tool and this camera. This is the best camera. And these are all the different things, the software that you use. And she just, did the Ecamm leap into live streaming to have all those resources shared too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely that makes sense. That's the question you get asked a lot. And then Tim gets asked, what's the difference between a Facebook personal profile, business page, and a group? And, as people that are familiar with social media, I think that's kind of where we get stuck. Like we think, oh, well, we know that. So then, people probably do know that. But the case is not. When people are not familiar with Facebook, they're not going to know the difference between the three of them. And then you are the resource to be able to answer that question for them in the form of a blog post, and do your long form explanation of it, and that you're helping your audience. You're being a resource for your audience, and that's really what we're about. What we're trying to do as business owners is to help. That's why we went into business to begin with, right? And that's how we continue to support the businesses that we have.
That's where these ultimate guides and the pillar posts can really be helpful. Because I wrote, I'm going to get the title wrong because it's been a while. It's been a couple of years. But I wrote, it's basically the ultimate guide to Facebook mentions and tags. And so, again, you and I know we do it all the time. We tag people, we mention people. It's almost second nature to us. But people who don't do it every day, they don't realize what limitations there are, that there even are limitations, or how to do it, or what's the difference. So I talk about the difference. I talk about what pages can do versus what profiles can do. I talk about how you can only mention so many people or tag so many people in an image or a comment, and why those limits are there, and those kinds of things. So then I get all kinds of traffic all day long. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. Hundreds of people every single day who want to Google, how many people can I tag in a Facebook image? Why can I only mention so many people in a comment? Why can't my page mention so-and-so? And I get comments and questions all the time. I took the time once to create this entire resource because I was getting all these little questions over and over again. And now it's just bringing in traffic every single day.
Yeah, well, you're helping people. That's ultimately what you're doing, is you're helping people because people are searching for the information they really want to know. So that's just a good point for us to realize that, and the coaches that we have too, like coaches that, follow me that I'm helping, they have such a breadth of knowledge. And what the same thing is that they have this information in their head. They know how to help people get through a difficult time, or to flip their mindset, to do all these things where, they know that, but they think because they know it so well, it's so close to them, that they don't think about sharing that, in the form of a blog post and some kind of like story and scenario that they could really share that someone searching could benefit from. So that's definitely, those little tricks and things that we know so well is perfect information to share and to be that resource for our audience. So, well, I really appreciate you being on today. I know it was, it was a tough decision for me, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. And ultimately, this whole theme of this show is just to be a resource for your audience. You started a business, you are helping people, and one way you can help people is to share your knowledge through blogging, share that knowledge through the social media posts that you have, and ultimately, and I've learned this too, is just do your research, right? Like research, you can find so much information online about everything because people are allowing themselves to be resources and helping people. So do your research about blogging, do your research about different things that you want to learn about in your business. Do your research about what's going on in the world today, because that's very important to be aware of what's happening, and to make sure that we can be educated and have those conversations. And having conversations about Black Lives Matter and about Blackout Tuesday and talking to our friends and our family and our people about it, it's just so important right now, because there is so much that we can learn from this and just be able to grow and all learn and move forward together stronger. So I think I'm just really lucky that we have this, I know as all in social media, we really feel lucky that we can have this platform to be able to connect. And that's really what it's all about, is to connect with people that we may, all the people that I've met through a social media marketing world, that I meet online all the time, that we can connect, hopefully connect in person later on, but really use this platform that we have the ability to use right now to connect, to listen, to learn, and just to love each other. And I just want to make that message clear. So thanks again, Mike. I really appreciate you being here. And I'll make sure to add the comments, or add in the comments the link to your blog post so everyone can read it in detail. And I'll be back next week with my friend Gina Ontera. She is a writing coach, and she's going to be talking about writing, leveraging blogging and writing for your personal brand. So as opposed to maybe your business, if it's not a personal brand, then now we're going to kind of switch gears next week. So we'll see you then. Bye.